Om Shanti. Good evening and welcome to Soul Searching, which is question and answer regarding Raj Yoga. And this session is completely driven by you. So we use this to respond to any questions you might have regarding Raj Yoga, whether or not you've been practicing, studying, know anything about it. You can learn more about it through the session or address any questions that have arisen as you start to practice it. So if you have a question, type it into the chat box, the YouTube chat box, and we will be happy to address it. Otherwise, there's going to be a very sweet silence for about 40 minutes. Or our technical team will have to come up with questions. Mm-hmm. Mm. So if you're just arriving, a reminder that this is question and answer regarding Raj Yoga. And so we invite your questions. Otherwise, we have nothing to answer. So if you have a question, to type it into the chat box that's available on YouTube, and we will pick it up. All right. So the question that has been posed is, how is Raj Yoga different from mindfulness meditation? And we actually recently had a 3-minute explanation on this very topic. And what it looked at was the difference actually between mindfulness, meditation, and Raj Yoga. Those are sort of 3 different things. So mindfulness, meditation, and Raj Yoga. And what it was compared to was going to the gym. So step 1, mindfulness. This is the same as simply showing up at the gym. You are present. You are present at the gym. Nothing's actually happening. You're not interacting with anything in the gym. You're just present. And that's better than not being present. You're now on the launch pad. So this is the idea of mindfulness, is really just training the mind to be present so you can start the journey of that inner understanding. But there actually isn't much else going on other than you are present. So I show up at the gym, I am present. Fantastic. The second step is meditation, which is really like getting a tour of the gym. So becoming familiar with the different facilities and equipment in the gym. So, and even maybe getting some demonstrations. So being exposed to all the information available, all of the activities available in the gym. So meditation, I am present. My mind is present in the moment, and I'm starting to become familiar with some of the ideas of spirituality. This is meditation. It's changing that inner conversation. The third step at the gym is you actually do the exercises, so you feel an experience with the equipment. And this is Raj Yoga. There's going to be transformation because I'm interacting with the equipment, so things are going to change. This is the idea of Raj Yoga, that now I have the information, I'm thinking about the information, but now I want to experience it, personalize it. I go through the experience. Rather than the information remaining theoretical, I am going to go into the experience, into the information, to personally experience it so that there is transformation. So it's quite a bit of difference between those categories. And the main thing is to be clear as to what I'm doing. And we often talk about, it's pretty obvious with mindfulness, but we often talk about the gap between thinking or saying something internally, meditation, I think it, versus actually experiencing it. There is a world of difference between those two states, and they very often get confused. So I, for example, can hold the thought, I am a soul. Try it right now. Just hold that thought, I am a soul. I can hold the thought and feel nothing. Nothing's changed. There's been no transformation, nothing. I just had the thought. It's a bit like when we say something and we don't actually mean it or feel it. So I can hold the thought, I am a soul, but there's a lot involved in interacting with that thought, personally experiencing it, feeling, I am a soul. I am not this body. I am an eternal being, going into the depth of all of the information and wearing it, experiencing it. So this is yoga. So there you go. Different stages of participating in spirituality. Any other questions? It's a lot of load on our technical team tonight. Maybe we should start asking you questions, which is actually a big part of meditation, asking the right questions. I feel another question coming from the ether.
Some are concerned if they're just imagining.
Right, right.
Imagining versus different.
So am I imagining myself into an experience, or is it the real deal? And again, these are all various levels of self-deception that can happen. Something that's very important with Raj Yoga, because once, in Raj Yoga spirituality, you're dealing with completely invisible things in the sense that they're not physical. Science isn't going to be helpful for you. So if you're waiting for science to prove these things, you could be waiting a very long time. You might even be waiting until it's too late. So we're dealing with invisible things, but we have a facility with invisible things, what we call eternal truths. We can kind of recognize when something feels right. We may not be living that way. We may not have the power to live that way, but we can feel that seems right. As an example, one should ideally live their life with self-respect. So it's a completely non-physical statement. There really is no scientific anything about it, but there's this inner wisdom, as we say, this inner knowing. So we talk about remembering or connecting with some ancient feelings, memories, values. So with Raj Yoga, we have this situation where we're trying to experience things that science can't prove, my physical eyes can't prove. So how do I know if I'm having the real experience or not? And it's a real challenge. And for me, the answer ultimately is whether or not any transformation is happening. And that's why we say that, we can go on for quite a while having amazing thoughts, because every thought we create leads to an experience. So I can have very amazing thoughts and I'm experiencing things, feeling things. So something must be going on. But then we have to look at, as we go through our practical day, Are my internal feelings changing? Are my responses? Am I less reactive? Have I more easiness? Am I more accepting of what's going on? So I have to look at whether there's actual transformation. And this is back to the example of the gym. People go to the gym and they say, I'm going to do some push-ups now, and they proceed to do something, but it's not the thing. They're not doing an accurate push-up. They're doing their concept of a push-up, but not, so they're getting no gains. They will not develop any strength. So I need to follow the directions given to a T accurately, and then see if I'm beginning to have changes happen internally. So constantly striving for accuracy, and also checking, is there transformation going on within the self? It's really up to the self to be so clear and honest. And this is a huge topic about following directions accurately. We have a lot of difficulty. It is surprising how much difficulty we have in following directions. So the reason that there's that concern, am I imagining or is this real, isn't so much that the information is fantastical, but I have difficulty in following directions in order to arrive at a real experience. We tend to, even though we say, oh yeah, I'm following directions, we tend to mix in our own ideas. We want to improve on the directions, and we largely do that unconsciously. We're not even aware we're doing it. To follow directions clearly is such a gift, such a gift. And again, the example of the fitness class, it's quite remarkable. There's actually whole classes fitness instructors take that are dedicated. How can we get the participants to follow directions? It's an absolute wonder how difficult it is for participants to follow directions. And things can fall apart in many ways in the following of directions. One might be that my mind was elsewhere and I didn't even hear the directions. That could happen, is that I'm so absorbed in my own thoughts, I'm not even catching the directions. Another might be that I hear the directions, but at this time I'm not capable of following them. Another might be that I hear the directions, but I don't believe they apply to me. They must apply to somebody else, but not me. Another is I hear the directions, and this is the most interesting, I actually think I'm following them. But my capacity to self-observe is quite poor, and I don't realize I'm not following them at all. And of course, the most successful is I hear the directions, I feel that they are relevant to me, I have the capacity and the interest to follow them, and I have that accuracy to check, is it truly happening? To look in the mirror and see, yes, it looks like what they're telling me to do. So there's several things. If I follow the directions accurately, I will have a real experience and I'll see real change. So what are these mysterious directions we're supposed to be following? The main thing, of course, is to consider oneself to be a soul. And then we're given very clear, you're separate from the body. You're not physical, you're a point, you're non-dimensional, you're eternal. There's several different, very specific directions. Nothing here belongs to you. Very specific. Have to stop and ask, did I take the time to follow those directions and experience that? Or do I just say, yeah, I'm a soul, but anyways, my friends are really bothering me. Like, I didn't follow the directions, because if I did follow the directions, my friends would not be I wouldn't experience any irritation. So following the directions accurately will lead to an accurate experience and real change. Okay, so apparently others have joined, so we're going to repeat our little request. This again is question and answer regarding Raj Yoga. And basically, we have nothing to answer unless you pose some questions. So we invite you to pose your questions in the chat box on YouTube. Any questions? There are no silly questions, only questions that might help each other. So if you have a question regarding Raj Yoga, please let us know by typing them in the chat box. It's very quiet out there. I know you're very shy. It's okay. No pressure. We don't like anything to be violent in this study, so no pressure. But do know that if you do have a question, it might be useful for someone else too. I am being asked to see if I can think of any questions, which I will then answer for myself. So basically, yeah, I'm trying to think in the Raj Yoga courses itself, the top questions that we actually get is oh. Okay, we have a question coming in.
Powerful thoughts we can create while offering Buddha.
Okay.
And what's the right method?
Okay. So this is about one of the practices. The question that came is about one of the practices we have. So I'll break it down just a little in case those joining are not in the depths of Raj Yoga, and then the question might seem a little odd. So just for the general, one of the practices we have many disciplines in this spiritual practice, just as people have disciplines in their physical practice. For example, they get up, they brush their teeth, they have breakfast, all of these disciplines. We have spiritual practices that are all designed to take care of the self, I, the spiritual being. And one of them has to do around food, actually. Food is a symbol of sustenance, and it obviously is something that the body needs. I, the soul, do not take the physical food. It all goes to the body. But what I do take from food or the atmosphere or really anything is I take the vibration, I take the feelings. So, for example, grandma's apple pie is filled with so much love. And even though it has the exact same ingredients in it as the apple pie at the grocery store, I have a very different feeling from the two. Grandma's apple pie feels so comforting, very different from the apple pie at the grocery store. Exact same ingredients, very different feelings. And it's one of the very powerful ways to support the self spiritually is the feelings I put into that which I'm going to sustain the body and the self with. So for me, when it comes to this discipline of food, it actually starts with grocery shopping. So I have some of my best yoga experiences while grocery shopping. I take God grocery shopping with me. And the feeling is almost as if I'm picking food fit for God. In other words, very high quality. I actually like to feel the vibe of the food. This idea of having what it's trying to do is we've taken so much. We've tried to be so fulfilled from the spiritual realm. We've almost become greedy, trying to take experience from physicality. It hasn't fed us at all. It's actually made us emptier and emptier. But we just don't know where else to get our sustenance from. And so to go grocery shopping and not just thinking about, oh, I can't wait to eat this, that, and the other thing, and this is, but really this sense of deep quality, that like it's a real act of care that I'm going to put so much vibrational quality into what I'm doing. And so I shop with a lot of care, not greed, but care. And so it starts from the grocery shopping. And then, of course, there's the preparation itself. Now, of course, we have very specific things we eat itself, the content. But beyond that, the preparation of the food, again, not thinking about, this is going to be very tasty, I can't wait to eat it, but more the vibration, because that's what you, the soul, will experience, is of, am I making the food peacefully? The highest vibration I can put into food is remembrance of God. And we always know anything prasad, anything that's made with that kind of feeling is very sacred food. And so to prepare the food in a very careful, very sacred state, imagine the vibrations going into the food. And so preparing the food, and then finally, we have this idea which we call offering bhog, but offering the food to God even before we think of eating it. And it's based on a spiritual law or principle that anything, not just food, but anything you offer sincerely to God without any desires, because that's not offering. Anything you offer, surrender to God with no desire for return. Just offer to His care. Anything you offer, it will be returned to you, purified and multiplied. So we offer the food to God, but the feeling is I'm actually offering myself because there's no desires. I want now to be sustained by God's love, if you will. And so that becomes one of the most beautiful meditation experiences one can have. There's no greed, no desire. It's a real letting go of the symbol, the deepest symbol of life, which is sustenance. Offering this to God. God doesn't need it. But if the feelings are sincere, I receive instant fruit, which is a very beautiful meditation experience. But I also will receive this beautiful return of such powerful vibrations in that matter. Food will go into the body, but I get those vibrations. It has been said that if such sacred food, if souls, even if they're not meditating or anything, but if they are to be able to get this kind of sacred food, that alone would deeply change their stage. We often say this is one of the most powerful ways to serve others in your household, is to let them have food that's been offered to God. I know when I came into this practice, I had a personal decision that I would never force this practice on anyone else. And at that time, I had a relation in another city. I would go to visit. I would explain that I would prefer to prepare my own food. I was happy to buy all the supplies, everything. They were very respectful. They actually bought everything, pots, everything. And I would go, and this relation I was visiting was actually an excellent cook, like chef quality cook. I'm a very boring cook. So I would prepare all the food and offer, and they were very respectful. And, it was there. It's never as tasty on a physical level as everybody said, would you like to try some? You're most welcome to try some. And so they said, yes, they'd like to try, and they would eat it. And I remember the first time they ate it, they turned to me and said, that is the most delicious thing I've ever had. And it shocked me because it really wasn't seasoned as it wasn't, the flavor, like they prepare such amazing food. What they were experiencing was the vibration. It's filled with, just like grandma's apple pie is filled with so much love. It's not the ingredients, it's the vibration. And it comforts the soul. If I put these powerful vibrations of surrendering it to God and receive that return of so much purity, I am literally ingesting purity. And this is such a powerful way to help the self. So some think we're just crazy around food, but actually we just are really focused on self-care. And that's in each of our hands, is to take care of the self. So the care of the vibrations of the food that we're putting into this body, because they deeply affect me, the soul, is residing in this body. So that was a very quick answer. I don't know if it was according to what you're hoping for, but we can certainly explore more if you choose. Oh, not a second? Oh, okay. Yeah.
My question is related to karma. What kind of karma people have when they experience mental health and panic attacks?
Right. The question is, what is the karmic story for a soul when they're experiencing mental health and panic attacks? I'm going to give a very innocent example of how karma works. And the first thing I want to say is we're not very compassionate in the use of this word. Whenever something bad happens, people tend to say, oh, it's their karma. We don't say that when, it's just when something good happens. It's always when something bad happens. We have a very strange relationship with this word. Karma just means action. It's a very neutral word. The law of karma is very neutral. For every act you perform, there is a consequence. And what that's actually saying is that you are the creator of your life. You are not a passive victim of your life. You are the creator of your life. And that's a wonderful thing. This means I can create whatever quality of life I want. The karmas, the seeds I plant will definitely bear fruit. So, and to understand that the way the human soul is built is intrinsically good. There is always this desire to perform good, benevolent actions. But as we begin to lose power, forget ourselves, lose the purity, we simply are not capable of performing that quality of action. It's like asking someone with a broken leg to run fast. Before they broke their leg, they could. That broken leg, they can't. And so it's a very beautiful story, the story through time, according to karma. And we often extract pieces of it and don't look at the totality of that story. Every soul's story is a wonder as they move through time. They have it all, they lose it all, they get it all back. And this is all wrapped up with the law of karma. With respect to any one aspect, whether it's mental health or financial health or physical health or relationship health, it's always the same. So a very innocent example is Brahma Baba. I'm always in awe of this. So this is Brahma Baba. He was the first student of the organization and the instrument to establish it. And right up until 93, the age he left the body, he never wore glasses. Never. Neither farsighted nor nearsighted. He didn't need it for either. He did not wear glasses. So this karmic account of, in this case, is a very innocent example, the visual eyes, that he didn't wear glasses. So how is that possible? It's not hit and miss. It's that some people do, and there's a reason that I'm wearing glasses and Brahma Baba did not. And it has to do with how I used my eyes and how he used his eyes. Through time, consistently continued to use his eyes in as pure a way as possible, with respect, really looking at the character with honesty, and this created an account where he enjoyed good visual health. So when it comes to mental health, it asks, how have I been using my mind? Over however many births, how have I used my mind? And for most of us, and again, it's nobody's fault, it's simply part of the story as we begin to lose power, we use our mind in not a very elevated way. We might use it for critical thinking. We might use it to separate. We might use it to compare. We might use it to judge. We recently had a class which odd this question because it was on my mind all day. 3 ways: jealousy, dislike, critical thinking. Using our mind this way, it's actually a sign of poverty in the soul. And as I use my mind that way, and of course, I can't seem to stop. And it's because I'm losing power. It's not anything to feel like fault about. It's just part of the story of the soul. I will get that mental health back. But as a result of using the mind in these ways, there is a consequence, which is these concerns over mental health. So now the soul has the opportunity within that context of losing it all back. And it's going to require that I begin to believe in myself, that I start to develop power, start to take care of myself, so I can start to use my mind in a different way. And this is why Raj Yoga is so powerful, is it starts to give me these tools, these inner tools, creates a foundation from which I can start to act in a different way in the context of whatever I have created. I've always found it a wonder, these people in such a state of poverty are able to work with just a little, but a lot of self-belief, and are able to create a new life for themselves. So that is the most wonderful feeling for a soul, is to be able to help themselves. So rather than thinking of, oh, what did I do that I got into this situation? It's, according to my story, I'm in this situation, and this is the situation in which I will learn how to help myself, how to care for myself, how to create for myself. I misused this power in the past, and now I need to relearn how to use this power correctly. In that case, my thoughts. I don't know if that answered the question, but it's a very full topic. These are all full topics. We could probably dedicate an hour to each one, but they're good questions. We have 5 more minutes. If there's any last question. Silence. Okay. Then we'll pick up on that piece in the last question. How does the soul, in the context of, if you will, spiritual poverty, how do I start to generate wealth, capacity to do something different? That's the greatest achievement of the human spirit, that in the midst of deep habits, to be able to do something different, create a different consequence. It's an incredible achievement. So how does Raj Yoga help that? And what it does is it starts to help me to get more power and wealth. This is spiritual power and spiritual wealth. It starts, and it all is a result of going into what is eternal. Raj Yoga, more than anything else, is a mastery over moving from something old into something new. So we have these old habits, we call them sanskars, these old ways of operating. And every time I operate according to those old ways, I create the same consequences. I want something new to happen, but I'm creating the same consequences because I'm not doing anything new. And so Raj Yoga is brilliant at moving the soul from old to new. And what it tells us is you cannot move directly from old to new. It's not possible. Every time I try and do something new, it's just a reincarnation of the old. And so what it does, it provides this transition space, which we call the eternal. So I'm going to go from old to eternal to new. We call this aim and objective, from old to eternal to new. I have to be very loyal to this process or it won't work. I know we want to jump to new. I know how badly we want things to change, especially if we're feeling distress. We have to honor the system because it will work. Old, aim at the eternal, and something new will happen. If you don't remember anything else, remember this. It's super important. Do not aim directly at the new. Aim at the eternal, and something new will happen. So what are these eternal aspects? To go deep into the experience, I am a soul. To go deep into the experience, my home is silence. Nothing here is mine. And go deep into the experience, I am eternally a child of God. Now, these are all just words. I want to go into the feeling of those. And I know I am because I'll feel very free. The sense of freedom from, this physicality. We're so deeply attached to the physicality. And that's what's pulling us back to the old. So going into the eternal, and suddenly I start to get the power to do something new with my mind, in relationships, with finances, all of these different things, the body, all these places that we have karmic accounts manifest. So don't aim directly, aim eternally. So ending with the experience of being a soul, just for a couple of minutes. I'm very aware of this physical body. I can see it with my physical eyes. It's very easy to experience the body. And the experience of the body has become so loud, completely overtaking my awareness. I actually believe I am the body. It's not just something I think or say, I feel it. It's just gotten so deeply into the awareness. So it requires 100% of my attention to experience myself to not be the body, but to be the soul using the body, this eternal being. We say a tiny point of living spiritual light. But the main thing is I exist, I am a discrete entity, I am not physical, and I'm not the body. And within me are all the virtues and values and powers. So it's so important to experience myself as a spiritual being. The first thing I'll start to feel is a sense of calm, which is very relevant to that anxiety, a deep sense of calm. But only if I genuinely can touch the feeling, I am a soul, eternal being, point of light. I am using this body. I am separate from this body. Taking the time to go deeply into that experience. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for your questions. Deeply appreciated. Excellent questions. And please send them ahead from this moment. Email it on in. It's never too early. and we'll be able to look at them next week. On Thursday is another experience session, 6:45 to 7:30, and 7:35 on Thursdays is Raj Yoga Essentials. So not so much question and answer, although you can always ask questions, but more looking at the very basics of Raj Yoga and going deeply into those basics. Om Shanti.